The sun had just begun its slow climb above the horizon, spilling golden light across the savanna. Each blade of grass shimmered with dew, trembling gently in the soft morning breeze. The world seemed at peace, almost impossibly so, as if nothing could disturb the delicate balance of life here. A small rhino calf wandered near a watering hole, its stubby legs wobbling slightly with every step. Mist curled around its tiny frame, blurring the edges of its rounded ears and wet, curious snout. The calf sniffed at the air, then dipped its mouth into the clear water, sending ripples across the mirrored surface. A bird, startled by its reflection, squawked and took flight, wings slicing the air as the echoes of its song faded into the distance. Near the forest's edge, hidden in the shadows of towering acacia and dense undergrowth, a tiger prowled silently. Its stripes melted into the patterns of sunlight and shadow, each movement precise and deliberate. Muscles coiled under its golden-orange coat, taut as bowstrings, yet the tiger's eyes were calm, reflective, as if studying the rhythms of the savanna rather than hunting. It moved slowly, deliberately avoiding dry twigs that might betray its presence. The forest floor was alive with the whispers of insects and the soft rustle of leaves, a language only the wild truly understood. Even so, the tiger's senses prickled with an unfamiliar tension. An unease carried on the wind that rustled through the grass and tickled its whiskers. The rhino calf, oblivious to the predator watching from the shadows, began to explore with the innocence only youth can hold. It nudged at a wisp of tall grass, batting it playfully with its tiny horn. The soft snort of its breath and the gentle scraping of its hooves against the damp earth made a rhythm in harmony with the morning chorus of the savanna. Butterflies hovered above the water, landing briefly on dewy leaves before flitting away, and a distant herd of elephants trumpeted softly, their calls echoing like rolling thunder across the plains. Everything felt safe, serene, and yet, in the undercurrent of the air, there was a quiet warning. The tiger's amber eyes followed the calf with a mixture of curiosity and concern. It sensed the faint imprint of human activity, the broken branch over there, the shallow footprints in the mud, the slight tang of metal and smoke carried by the wind. These were things the rhino could not sense, dangers that lurked beyond the innocence of morning. The tiger shifted its weight, ears twitching, and its tail flicked with silent calculation. Though it was a predator, the animal felt a strange connection to the calf, a silent understanding of vulnerability and life's fragile beauty as the calf ventured closer to the forest's edge. The shadows grew longer and the air felt heavier. Birds grew quiet and the distant roar of a lion faded into a low murmur. Something had changed, though nothing had yet moved in a way that was visible. A broken twig snapped somewhere further in the undergrowth, soft, almost imperceptible sound, but enough to make the tiger's muscles tense like steel. The calf froze mid-step, its small ears swiveling toward the noise, nostrils flaring. For a heartbeat, it was still as stone, eyes wide. Drinking in the scent of the air, the tiger remained motionless, a silent sentinel in the early light, tracking the invisible approach of danger. The calm of the savanna had been fractured, though the calf did not yet know it. The wind shifted, carrying a faint, acrid scent of smoke and iron, the unmistakable warning of humans. Poachers were near, their footsteps hidden by the rustle of the morning grass, their rifles slung carelessly across their shoulders. Oblivious to the rhythm of life, they threatened to disrupt. The tiger's gaze sharpened, muscles rippling beneath its skin. It was a moment of quiet clarity, instinct, wisdom. In life itself, we're poised on the edge of something dangerous. The rhino calf, still young and untested in the ways of the world, lowered its head and began to paw at the soft mud near the water's edge. Droplets clung to its rough gray skin, sparkling in the sunlight like tiny jewels. Its small horn brushed against the earth, sending up a scent that mingled with the damp water and wild grasses. There was a beauty in this innocence, a fragile perfection that seemed almost sacred against the backdrop of the looming threat. The tiger's gaze never wavered, following every subtle movement, every cautious sniff of the air, every hesitant step the calf took closer to danger. A sudden snap adry. Sharp sound of a branch breaking cut through the stillness. The calf's ears shot up, trembling, its eyes widening in sudden alarm. Its legs stiffened, muscles taut with instinctive fear, yet it could not fully understand the source of the danger. The tiger's ears flattened, its tail flicking with urgent precision, and its entire body coiled as if ready to spring into motion. The invisible threat of humans had arrived, and the first ripple of panic began to move through the savannah. For a few timeless moments, all was suspended: the quiet breath of the forest, the soft rustle of grass, the distant call of a bird, all blending into a tense tableau. The tiger and the rhino calf, two unlikely figures in the wild, shared a moment of unspoken understanding. The tiger's gaze locked on the source of the disturbance, sensing movement hidden in the long grass. Though it was a predator, it knew its role in this fragile ecosystem had changed in that instant. It was a guardian, a shield for innocence against a human threat. The sun climbed higher, illuminating the scene in stark contrast: the bright, carefree innocence of the calf against the quiet, vigilant presence of the tiger, and the distant, unseen menace creeping closer. Dust motes floated in the air, catching the sunlight like tiny stars falling to earth. The calf pawed the earth nervously, sniffing at the air now heavy with the scent of smoke. The tiger's body tensed, a silent promise that it would act when the time came. And then, the faintest sound, a footstep out of rhythm with the natural music of the savannah, announced that the poachers had arrived, bringing with them a danger that would change the morning's serene beauty into a tale of courage, survival, and unexpected alliances. In that quiet, a suspended moment, the savannah held its breath. The rhino calf, still innocent, took a hesitant step forward. The tiger, silent and alert, melted back into the shadows of the forest, eyes never leaving the approaching threat. The calm of the morning had been broken, and with it, the first threads of a story that would ripple across the savannah, binding predator and prey together in a dance of survival neither could have. Imagine the tranquil morning shattered with a sudden, metallic crack, a gunshot ringing across the savannah like a bell of doom. Birds exploded into the air, wings thrashing, feathers flashing in the harsh sunlight. Dust spiraled upward from the dry earth, as if the land itself were wincing at the intrusion. The rhino calf froze mid-step, its wide eyes darting, ears flicking frantically. Its small heart pounded in its chest, sending tremors of fear through every stubby leg. The water's mirrored surface rippled violently as the calf backed away, its instincts screaming that danger had arrived. Though it did not yet understand its nature, from the shadows at the forest's edge, the tiger tensed. Muscles coiled beneath its striped coat like a tightly wound spring. Its amber eyes narrowed, pupils pinning on the glint of rifles and the movement of human legs cutting through the tall grass. There was no hesitation, no thought beyond the imperative that surged through its veins. Protect, intercept, survive. The world it knew, the delicate rhythm of prey and predator, had been violated, and the tiger's presence became a sudden, fiery pulse of raw energy. The poachers moved with the confidence of men who believed they ruled the land. They laughed, voices carrying over the panicked calls of fleeing birds and the low growls of distant lions. Their rifles glinted, reflecting the early sunlight, an unnatural intrusion on the golden savannah. Every step they took crushed grass, leaving trails that the wind could not hide. The rhino calf's instinct to flee warred with its fear. It froze in place, a young life suspended on the edge of terror. The sounds of the savannah, the rustling leaves, the distant trumpeting of elephants, the whisper of insects had been replaced by a cacophony of human greed. The tiger's movement was fluid, almost unreal. Each step was deliberate, calculated, and silent, despite the chaos erupting around it. Muscles flexed under its skin as it slinked through the tall grass, each motion a study in controlled power. Its low growl rolled from its throat, deep and resonant.
Ow!
Warning that vibrated through the earth beneath the poacher's boots. The humans paused, uncertainty flickering across their faces as they caught the sound. The first hint that this encounter would not be as simple as they believed. Gunshots cracked again. Closer this time, and the rhino calf's panic became motion. It bolted toward the forest's edge, legs trembling, but moving with desperate determination. Dust and sweat mingled in the air, a thick, choking haze that blurred the edges of the world. The tiger sprang, a living shadow leaping through the chaos. It landed with the power of an avalanche, claws raking into the dirt, teeth bared in a show of defiance. The poachers stumbled, startled by the sudden appearance of an apex predator, their confident arrogance faltering. Time slowed. Each heartbeat became a drum, pounding in rhythm with the calf's frantic gallop. Gunshots echoed, ricocheting off the ground and rocks. But the tiger moved with an almost mythical courage, intercepting the humans with precision and force. It was no longer a hunter stalking prey. It had become a guardian, a force of nature defending innocence against greed. The poachers yelled, swinging rifles and attempting to shoo the beast away. But the tiger's presence was a wall of living power they could not penetrate. The calf scrambled, slipping briefly in the loose earth, its small body slick with sweat and dust. The tiger's roar erupted, a sound that shook the savannah. The poachers froze again, awe and fear etching their faces. The clash of primal forces, man versus wild instinct, played out in slow, tense beats. Dust rose around them like smoke from a fire, the golden grasses bending and swaying as if bowing to the struggle. Each movement was heavy with life and death, desperation and courage. For a moment, the tiger's gaze softened, not in weakness, but in understanding. It saw the calf, trembling, trying to navigate the chaos, and a rare tenderness flickered through its amber eyes. Its role had shifted. It was no longer predator or hunter. It was protector. With another surge of power, it lunged toward the nearest poacher, forcing him to stumble backward into the long grass. The human cursed, raising his rifle. But the tiger's speed was unmatchable. A blur of orange and black that dominated the scene, the rhino calf. Sensing a small window of opportunity, bolted toward a hidden grove the tiger had noticed days before. Its tiny hooves thudded against the earth, carrying it toward safety as the tiger engaged the poachers, creating the chance for escape. Dust clouded the air, mingling with sweat and the faint, coppery smell of blood as the tiger's presence forced the men to retreat, disoriented and frightened. Each step the calf took carried it further from the threat. Closer to shelter and survival, the struggle reached its peak in a tense tableau, the tiger lunging, the poachers flailing, the calf darting through shadows. Each second stretched like an eternity, every motion amplified by fear, courage, and raw instinct. The savannah seemed to hold its breath. The usual hum of life paused to witness the extraordinary scene. And then, slowly the tide shifted. The poachers, beaten back by a force they had not expected, began to withdraw, muttering curses and fear in equal measure. The tiger, chest heaving and claws sinking into the earth for balance, watched the calf disappear into the hidden grove. Its body relaxed slightly, but its eyes never left the retreating humans. For a heartbeat, the savannah returned to a tenuous calm, the chaos giving way to quiet relief. The air was thick with dust, sweat, and the lingering scent of adrenaline, but the calf was safe, at least for now. The tiger, once feared as a predator, now stood as a guardian. Its courage and instinct creating a bond that defied the ordinary order of the wild. As the sun climbed higher, spilling warm light across the battered grass, the tiger slowly retreated into the forest's edge. Its gaze lingered on the grove where the calf had vanished, softening in a rare, almost human moment of reflection. The golden savannah, scarred by the morning's chaos, began to settle. Birds cautiously returned, perching again on branches, their songs tentative but growing stronger. In the shadows, life breathed once more. The rhythm of the wild resuming after its violent interruption, the rhino calf huddled under the shade of the grove's trees. Small body trembling but alive, its wide eyes shone with awe and confusion, a mixture of terror and relief. Somewhere near the forest, the tiger watched still, a silent promise lingering in its amber eyes that innocence could survive, even when danger pressed close. That courage could come in the form of fur and stripes, as well as human hands. And for a brief moment, the savannah was quiet again, holding the memory of a clash that would ripple through the lives of all who witnessed it. A story of survival, protection, and the unexpected alliances the wild sometimes demands. The forest grove was quiet, almost unbearably still, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. The golden light of late afternoon filtered through the dense canopy, painting dappled patterns on the soft earth and illuminating the glistening pool at the grove's center. The rhino calf stood at the water's edge, trembling slightly, nostrils flaring as it drew deep, cautious breaths. Its small legs wobbled under its weight, muscles taut from hours of fear and frantic escape. Every sound leaves rustling, water lapping gently. Distant bird calls felt amplified, a delicate reminder that life persisted. Even after chaos, the tiger lingered at the grove's edge, a silent shadow against the fading light. Its amber eyes never left the calf, watching each movement with careful attention. The muscles along its flanks relaxed slowly, the taut, coiled energy of the savanna's confrontation giving way to a more measured, watchful stillness. It was a predator, yet in this moment it carried an unfamiliar grace, a guardian, a protector, a silent witness to survival. Even as the forest exhaled around them, carrying the faint smell of damp earth and crushed leaves, the tiger's presence spoke volumes. Life had been preserved, and the wild's balance, fragile as it was, remained intact. The calf cautiously dipped its tiny snout into the pool, sending concentric ripples across the mirrored surface. Its reflection wavered, distorted by trembling hooves, but it was unharmed. For the first time since the morning's terror, it allowed itself to relax, though only slightly. Its small ears twitched, as if listening for signs of the poachers. The distant memory of their voices and gunshots still echoing faintly in its mind. The tiger's eyes followed every motion, tracking the subtle shifts in posture and breathing, ready to intervene if needed. A rare trust had begun to form, unspoken yet palpable, between two creatures whose lives had collided by chance and courage. Moments of quiet reflection stretched between them, broken only by the occasional ripple of water or the soft sigh of wind through the leaves. The savanna's chaos had receded, replaced by the gentle rhythm of the grove's life. A butterfly landed on a leaf near the water, its wings flickering like fragile shards of light, and the calf flinched, then watched with cautious curiosity. The tiger's tail flicked lazily, a small gesture of reassurance, as if acknowledging that the world could be safe again, at least for now. It was an unusual scene, a predator and its would-be prey sharing the same sanctuary, each respecting the fragile boundaries of trust. The calf ventured further into the grove, exploring the soft moss and fallen branches, occasionally pausing to glance over its shoulder. Its small horn nudged at a low-hanging vine, brushing away the shadows that had frightened it before. The tiger remained at the edge, a silent sentinel, eyes scanning the forest line for any hint of lingering danger. The sun lowered steadily, painting the grove in shades of amber and rust, and long shadows stretched across the pool like gentle fingers. Nature, once so violent and unpredictable, now seemed to cradle the pair in a protective embrace. In the distance, the faint sounds of other wildlife returned. Birds called tentatively from the treetops, insects hummed softly, and a distant elephant trumpeted, announcing its presence without urgency. The calf's breathing slowed, each exhale carrying away a fraction of the fear it had accumulated. Its small eyes reflected a tentative wonder. Discovering the beauty of survival for the first time, after the terror of the day, the tiger's gaze softened, no longer sharp with the tension of confrontation, but gentle with the quiet satisfaction of duty fulfilled. It had risked itself, challenged the invaders of the wild, and now bore witness to the resilience of another life. The moment was fleeting, delicate, as all things in the wild must be. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves, scattering shadows and light across the grove. The rhino calf pawed at the soft earth, splashing water into the pool with playful curiosity, though it remained aware of the tiger's presence. In those shared silent moments, the impossible alliance that had formed in desperation became almost ordinary, a predator protecting a vulnerable life, a testament to instinct tempered by compassion. There was no dominance here, no hierarchy being enforced, only the quiet recognition of what it meant to survive together in a dangerous world. The sun dipped lower, streaking the sky with ribbons of gold and rose, and the tiger began to retreat slowly toward the forest. It moved with deliberate caution, each step a balance between vigilance and release, watching the calf until it was certain the young rhino could manage the grove on its own. The calf, sensing the tiger's departure, paused briefly and lifted its head, eyes meeting the predator's one final time. There was no fear, only acknowledgement or recognition of the guardian who had shaped its survival that day. Then, the calf turned back to the water, stepping carefully onto the moss-lined banks and letting the soothing rhythm of the pool calm its trembling body. As the tiger disappeared into the shadows of the forest, the grove seemed to breathe, the silence stretching into something almost sacred. Leaves whispered in the wind, the water shimmered under the last golden rays, and the rhino calf began to explore once more, testing its strength and curiosity with cautious hope. Life in the wild had taught a lesson. Vulnerability could invite courage, and courage could form bonds that transcended instinct. The forest held its breath, then exhaled gently, letting the rhythm of survival continue uninterrupted. The scene widened, the camera of the mind pulling back to reveal the vastness of the wilderness. The grove was a sanctuary nestled in a larger world, still full of danger, full of life, and full of lessons unspoken. The rhino calf, now braver, tested its surroundings, its small hooves sending ripples across the water and leaving soft impressions in the mud. Somewhere beyond the grove's edge, the tiger watched no longer, its duty done. Yet the memory of its presence lingered in the calm air. In this fragile peace, a subtle truth emerged. Sometimes survival is not just about strength, but about empathy, trust, and the willingness to act when others cannot. As twilight deepened and stars began to pierce the violet sky above, the calf finally lay down beside the pool, curling into the soft earth. Its breathing slowed, a rhythmic promise of life continuing despite the day's trials. The forest whispered around it, a gentle lullaby of rustling leaves and the faint, distant sounds of nocturnal creatures stirring. The grove, once the stage of fear and chaos, had become a sanctuary of reflection, of hope restored, and of courage remembered. In the quiet after the storm, the wild had spoken its lessons. Alliances can form in the most unlikely of places. Courage can emerge from instinct, and compassion sometimes blooms where the heart of the predator meets. The innocence of the young, the rhino calf's eyes closed, small nostrils flaring as it inhaled the earthy scent of survival. The tiger had vanished, leaving only the memory of amber eyes, a coiled body ready to defend, and the unspoken promise of protection. The grove glimmered under the soft light, water reflecting the stars, now appearing overhead, a mirror of the endless possibilities of life in the untamed world. The story of the day faded slowly, leaving behind a sense of awe, a fragile hope, and of the quiet, enduring power of the wild.